All right, guys and gals. Hope y'all had a good spring break. I know we did. We did a lot of walking and hiking and things like that. Hope y'all got to get outside and enjoy some fresh air. This week we're going to talk about solving quadratics. We're still talking about solving quadratics, but now we're going to talk about solving them using what's called the quadratic formula. And this right here is the quadratic formula. Don't panic about that. That will always be given to you on our tests, on future tests, on any EOC you ever take. You will be given the quadratic formula if you need it. So it's not like you have to memorize it, but we do have to get good at using it. Before we get into actually solving quadratics, today's lesson is going to deal with what's called the discriminant. The discriminant, let me check my spelling real quick. So that's the word we're talking about, discriminant. The discriminant is going to tell us what type of answers we're going to get. That might not make sense right now, but it will in just a sec. And to find the discriminant, all we're going to use is this part of the formula right here. Not the square root, not the negative b, not the plus or minus, not the fraction, not the 2a. Just this part that I circled that's underneath the square root. So it's b squared minus 4ac. So we're going to use b squared minus 4a times c. And that's going to tell us what our discriminant is. And again, our discriminant is going to tell us what type of answer or answers we're going to have. Here are our possibilities. If the discriminant is greater than 0, meaning it's a positive number, then we are going to have two real solutions. Now, what are real solutions? Most of the numbers we deal with are real. So that's what a real number is. So that's what a real solution is going to be. If it is equal to 0, that tells us we're going to have one real solution. And then our last choice, if it is less than 0 or it's a negative number, that means we're going to have two what is called imaginary solutions. Okay, so we don't really know anything about imaginary numbers right now. We don't have to know a lot about it. We just have to know that it is a possibility for our answers to be imaginary numbers. So just realize that. And we're going to find imaginary solutions when this part of the formula right here gives us a number that is less than 0, or like I said, it's a negative number basically. Okay, so let's do one. These are not all that difficult. You just got to bear with me, use the formula, and you'll be fine. So the first one we're going to do is x squared minus 8x plus 7 equals 0. Now, like when we were solving by factoring, we needed the equation to be equal to 0. Same thing with the quadratic formula. Same thing for finding the discriminant. We need it equal to 0. Okay? So this one's already set up to equal to 0. So now let's figure out what my A, what my B, and what my C is equal to. Well, A, remember, comes from right here in front of the x squared. B comes from in front of the x term. And C comes from the constant or the number without a variable. So in this case, my A is 1, my B is -8, and my C is 7. So now we've got the three letters or the three numbers we need to plug into this formula. Like we talked about in class all the time, we want to use parentheses when we plug numbers into letters in a formula. So my B is -8, so I'm going to take -8 squared minus 4. Now I need my A and my C. So my A is 1 and my C is 7. Okay, well, when I square negative 8 squared, remember use parentheses. If you use parentheses and do negative 8 squared in your calculator, it will be 64. Remember this, anytime you square a number, you have to end up with a positive number. So if you punch it in your calculator wrong and it gives you negative 64, well, just remember, if I'm squaring a negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. So next I need to do this little part over here where it says negative 4 times 1. Well, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And then negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. So now I've got minus 28. Okay, so now my discriminant is, well, 64 minus 28 is positive 36. I don't really care what the number is. The fact that it's positive and it's greater than 0 tells me that I'm going to have two real solutions. So the answer to this, if all I'm doing is finding the discriminant and what type of solutions I'm going to have, there's my discriminant, it's 36, and it's going to have two real solutions. We'll get into more detail what that means here in a little bit, probably later in the week, maybe not even until next week, but okay. So two real solutions, because it was greater than 0, tells me it has two real solutions. So that's it, you're finished. All right, so let's do another one. The next one we're going to do, we've got 4x squared plus 4x equals negative 1. Well, the first thing we need to realize is this one right here is not equal to 0, and we need it to be equal to 0. So I need to move that negative 1 over. So that gives me 4x squared plus 4x. There's nothing to combine that negative 1 with over here, so that negative 1 is just going to become a positive 1 when I move it to the left-hand side. So now I've got it equal to 0. Now I'm ready to go ahead and figure out what my A, my B, and my C is. And in this one, my A is 4. My B is also 4. And my C is 1. While I'm thinking about it, if you ever do one of these and it's equal to 0 and you're missing like this number right here, there's no number right there, well then your C would be 0. Or if you're missing the x term, so it'd be 4x squared plus 1. If you're missing that middle term right there, well then your B would be 0, okay? We might get to one like that in a little bit. There might be one on your worksheet, I don't know. But just remember that. All right, so there's my A, B, and my C. Now I'm going to use my formula again. I need my B squared. Well, there's my B, it's 4. I'm going to put it in parentheses, squared, minus 4 times, I need my A. So there's my 4. So look, this 4 right here is always there because it's in my formula. Just so happens that my A is 4 also, but that 4 right there is always there, and there's always a minus between it, or between it and my B squared. Next, I need my C. My C is 1. All right, so let's do a little math. If you have your calculator, you can just punch that into your calculator exactly how it looks. If you don't, you're gonna have to do a little work by hand. So 4 squared is 16, and then I've got a negative 4 times a positive 4, which gives me a negative 16. So now I've got a negative 16 times 1. It's just going to stay 16. So in this case, my discriminant is 16 minus 16, which gives me 0. So now you go back up here. If my discriminant is equal to 0, I have one real solution, and I am finished. All right, so we've got one more example to do, and then you'll be ready to roll. Let's see, I'm gonna see if I can fit it on this sheet so we have our formula and all that already on there. Give me a sec, let's make sure I'm still on, yeah, we're good. All right, so the last one we're gonna do, I've got negative 7x squared equals x plus 2. Hopefully you notice it's not equal to 0. We said on all these that we need it equal to 0. So basically I need to take this x and move it over, and that's going to give me negative 7x squared. The x is going to become minus x. It was positive x on this side. It's going to become negative x on that side. I'm going to move that positive 2 over, and it's going to become a minus 2, and now it's equal to 0. I'm going to do this one off to the side. Now I can figure out what my A, my B, and my C is, because remember, that's the formula I'm still using. I need a B, an A, and a C. My A comes from in front of the x squared, so it's -7. My B is in front of that x. Remember, it's really an imaginary -1. And then my C is -2. So I'm going to take these three numbers and I'm going to plug it into my formula. I need my B squared. Well, my B is -1. I'm going to put -1 in parentheses, squared, minus 4. Remember that 4 is always there. Multiplied times A, which is -7. And now I need my C term, which is -2. So let's do the math. -1 times -1 is going to give me a +1. I'm going to show an extra step on this one. So I've got -4 times -7. That gives me a +28, but I still have that -2 to multiply it by, because I'm going to show you what happens to this number when I do the math in my head or use paper and pencil or whatever. So now I've got 1 plus, I've got 28 times -2. That's going to give me a -56. So you might just have 1 minus 56 right here. That'd be fine. I've got 1 plus -56. Any way I do it, if I do 1 plus -56 or 1 minus 56, my discriminant is going to equal a -55. And again, that's all I'm really worried about. Is it a positive or a negative number, or is it 0? Well, it's negative, meaning that it's less than 0. So remember, if our discriminant was less than 0, then that tells me I've got 2 imaginary numbers. Again, what is an imaginary number? We'll get into that later. For now, all you have to know is that it is an imaginary number, or I've got 2 imaginary solutions. Hope this helps you. This worksheet is really, I think we put the due date for the end of the week. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a video and a worksheet, and really you have 2 days to do that. So you're getting the video and the worksheet today. It'll be due tomorrow. We'll give you another video and worksheet. Excuse me, we'll give you another video and worksheet on Wednesday. It'll be due on Thursday, and then we'll do a little quiz on Friday like we did before the break. So if you haven't done those sheets before the break, make sure you get those in, submit them, and then do your quiz that was put on the Friday before the break. So be looking for another video on Wednesday. Talk to y'all later.